Let me look at this gospel text from the book of Luke, and in these few moments of homily, to draw it into something that has meaning for us in a contemporary world today. How does this gospel come alive for us today? You remember the very brief pericope we have here, where Jesus is with his disciples and he says, "Who do people say that I am?" And of course, nobody said, "You're a failure." Everybody said, "Well, you're John the Baptist, the great one, come back, or you're one of the great prophets. People admire you, They were certain of who he was. He is Christ the God. He is the God-man. He is the Messiah. He is the one who came to redeem creation. They were certain. By all means, always avoid the arrogance of certainty. There's very interesting insight in the Catch-22 big book by Joseph Heller, where he says, the corporal and Colonel Corn agree that it's neither necessary or possible to educate a person who doesn't question anything. So when I finish homilies and people question things, this is good. Your mind is alive. Disagree, this is good. For the person who has all the answers, the mind is dead. There is no animation in the spirit. And so they're certain you are the Christ of God. And he said, don't be so certain. You cannot preach until the Son of Man suffers, is rejected, unjustly judged, set aside, until you see him dying on the cross. And then you see him rise from the dead. Only then do you know who the Messiah is. And you must experience this in yourself. You must take up your cross each day. And you must go through these experiences in order to become a disciple of the true Messiah. So what does this mean to us? To follow Jesus Christ in this journey where ultimately truth will triumph. Nonviolence will come to life in the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Beauty will conquer. Goodness will emerge. Ultimately, goodness will always triumph. But we must go through the difficult darkness and the cross of our days. When I retired, 6 years ago, I made a bucket list, and I put various things on my bucket list, really important things like the Kentucky Derby, things like that, and Indy 500. But one of the things I put on my bucket list was I wanted to go to Oslo to see where Nelson Mandela got the Peace Prize. And then I want to go to South Africa to see where he was imprisoned for 27 years, to go to Robben Island, where he was in solitary confinement for 20 years. And how he emerged after 27 years, carrying the cross of his people. He emerged as a man of peace. Shortly after he was released from his imprisonment, he went to Oslo with de Klerk, the representative of those who oppressed him, and they shared a peace prize. An extraordinary statement, missed by many people, but profoundly gospel-centered. And I became a great admirer of Mandela, how this man could go through all of this and be transformed into a man of peace. By his own admission, he follows a concept, an African concept called Ubuntu. And Ubuntu means whoever we are, We are together. I am human because I belong to humanity. Humanity defines me as being human. Now, we'll talk about fathers today. I was inspired by my father. I've said that many times, my icon. But it was his humanity which inspired me. Not his success, not his glory, his sheer humanity and the wonder of being human and being lovable. So Mandela carried the cross of his people. And this Ubuntu means that in order for me to be fully human, I have to belong to the human race. And he went on to say at his Nobel talk that if you speak to a man in a language he understands, it will go to his mind. But if you speak in his own language, it will go to his heart. And he was a man that spoke from the heart, out of his suffering. Extraordinary. It leads us to compassion, to understanding, to patience, to acceptance of the humanity of others. And now, my friends, how do we connect with the pulse of the time today? Where is humanity today? Where is compassion, acceptance, understanding, reverence for the dignity and the uniqueness of each person? Where is this? Speak to me about the public conversation today. Speak to me about the soul of our country. Speak to me about the spirit of our church. To say, we belong to one another in our humanity. We are who we are when we are together. Ubuntu. Could we lose our soul? Yes. We could lose our soul. We could offend and deny our humanity through racism, through the rejection of others, through diminishing other people instead of uplifting them. We could lose our soul by not seeing the dignity in the other person. A Jewish friend of mine in Jerusalem told me many years ago, his son was conscripted into the Israeli armed forces. And there's great tension between the Palestinians, as you know, many of you have been pilgrims, and the Israeli armed forces. And sometimes it's very violent. And he said to me, I am afraid that my son will lose his soul. He'll lose his soul. He will lose his compassion, the kindness, the goodness, the reverence, which feeds our soul and reveals our humanity. And this gospel today says, unless you go through rejection, judgment, failure, unless you go through darkness and so forth, you have no gospel to preach. You want to follow the Son of Man. You follow the Son of Man into a place of darkness, of rejection, misunderstanding, underappreciated, not thanked, gifts unrecognized, unacknowledged. This is to carry the cross. And finally, I might have mentioned this before, but it was a teaching moment that left a great, great grace with me. Good friend of mine, this happened some years ago, had terminal cancer. He was dying, going through the whole passage toward his death, and I spent a lot of time with him. We were very close friends. And he had all his children taken care of. They were all fine. Some of them were married, and they were secure. and he felt very good about it, except one. He had a son. And his son had left his wife and his children and was living with another woman. And this devout, loving father struggled fiercely. He would die with this incomplete part of his family. He had everybody in shape except the one son. And in all my visits to him, he would bring this up with great anxiety and profound anguish about his son. And then, shortly before he died, I went to see him, and he said, I have solved it. I'm peaceful. I'm now ready to die. He said, he's my son. He's my son. That's all that counts. If he didn't call him son, he would deny his fatherhood. He would lose his soul. He's my son. And he died peacefully. Interestingly, I told him I would watch over his family and watch out for them. The son, interestingly, eventually married this woman, and that couple now teach the marriage class in their parish. True. Humanity. God is present in humanity. God is present not in the perfection, but in the beauty of somebody who loves imperfectly, like your father, like my father. The tears have all been shed now. We've said our last goodbye. His soul's been blessed, he's laid to rest, and I feel all alone. He was more than just my father, my teacher, my best friend, and he'll still be heard in the tunes we've shared when I play them on my own. And I never will forget him, for he made me what I am. Though he may be gone, memories linger on. I miss him, the old man. As a boy he'd take me walking by mountain, field, and stream, and show me things not known to kings, secrets between him and me. Like the colors of a pheasant as she rises in the morn, or how to fish or make a wish beside the fairy tree. And I never will forget him, for he made me what I am. Though he may be gone, memories linger on. I miss him, the old man. I thought he'd live forever He looked so big and strong. But the minutes fly and the years roll by for a father and a son. And suddenly, when it happened, there was no one left to say, no second chance for words of thanks for all the things he'd done. And I never will forget him, for he made me what I am. Though he may be gone, memories linger on. I miss him, the old man gone. I miss him, the old man.